everybody and welcome back to my channel. Today I would like to do a different type of videos. It's gonna be some sort of theory or psychological / philosophical chat to answer the question how not to overwork a piece. And I decided to paint a piece that is actually divided pretty much in abstract shapes, so to explain this theory. The theory that I'm talking about is the psychology of the Gestalt. I was lucky in my past to study in college some psychology, so that was basically part of my background or curriculum. And I never realized since now how important this Gestalt theory that I've studied just on paper is actually applicable to painting and how not to overwork a painting. So Gestalt is a German theory, actually a German word that stands for pattern, and the baseline of this theory is that the eye of the human being perceive entire patterns or configuration and not the individual components of an image. So the whole is more than the sum of its part. That is what the Gestalt said. And if you think about an impressionistic painting, if you look at it from a very close point of view, you can see little different specks of color that don't make sense. But if you step back, you actually can see the entire image. And this is part of a mechanism that the human being probably created or developed during their development, their history, to help his life living and understanding nature. And this is really applicable to art. So remember, the baseline is not to get into a painting with super mega amount of details. Well, you can do that if that is your style, but especially for a beginner painter, it's much easier to step back and just paint patterns. So back to the Gestalt. I'm gonna be very quick here, and it's just an overview, and my colleague psychologist, sorry if I miss something, but I'll be happy to get into more details in additional videos. I really love studying psychology and putting into my art, so that would be something I would really enjoy. So the Gestalt is summarized in 6 individual theories that would help you to achieve likeness on your painting and to paint something that is not overloaded of particulars and details and still make a lot of sense, as it's much easier to paint. The first theory, the first part, is the theory of proximity. The Gestalt says that similar objects close to each other create a whole image. So for example, here you can see I'm painting just little squares, shapes that don't make sense alone, but they are similar in shape, and your eye is drawn to put them together and recognize what it is. The second law is the law of similarity. Similar shapes are grouped together. Again, this is a very good example how just little patches of colors that are on similar shapes are grouped together by the eye and create the full picture. The next point is the law of closure. So the ability of the human eye to close the gaps between shapes. So this is a little difficult to explain in a 10-minute video, but is basically, if you don't complete your entire work and you leave some gaps of colors, your eye automatically will fill that gap and understand what's the picture like actually will draw more attention to the painting and more attention to what your image is without tiring your eye. The next theory within the Gestalt is the law of symmetry. So, you know how difficult it is to create a perfectly symmetrical painting? Well, there's no need, because your eye automatically will create symmetry where we have not symmetry, or where we have something that is very close to symmetry. The next point is the law of continuity. So basically, one object put beside another is interpreted as the continuation of the same object. For example, in this we have all these patches that goes from the very dark on the very front line to very light on the background. And although they are not attached to each other, or they are not the same color, your eye will understand that there is continuity between one patch and the other patch of color. And then the last law that the Gestalt is reporting is the law of the past experience. So everybody have a life experience, everybody know how a landscape look like, how a house look like, how a flower look like, how a cow look like. So this is probably the main point for this video on how not to overwork it. You know exactly, or a human being know exactly what the image is, just because you have past experience, you've seen similar images before. So you're not making such an effort to understand what is the subject that you're painting. Again, in my opinion, if you step back with details and you just mention or put an accent on what you want to paint, that will give you the full spectrum and will allow you not to overwork your painting. I've said before that, in my opinion, painting is like writing a poem rather than a novel. With very few words in a poem, you can describe the entire scene or the entire story that you want to tell. Rather than in a novel, you need a lot of words to describe scenery of the story that you want to tell. So when you paint, try to step back and to resemble more a poem rather than a novel. Use less than more. Again, if you're interested in knowing more about the Gestalt or how I apply these 6 principles to my painting, just leave a comment here and I'll be happy to do a couple of more videos and going into every single of the laws again.